Welcome everyone to the Gibberish HS podcast, Gibberish Discussions. My name is Gibberish, and today we are joined by two other Gibberish members. We got John.
Hello.
And Matt.
What's up?
So today we're going to be talking about three awesome subjects. But first, if you haven't heard, we are now on iTunes, where your podcast. So if you want to listen to us through the podcast, we release those on Fridays. So check them out Friday mornings to get the podcast 3 days early, which is really cool. We post these on Mondays at 12 p.m. So check them out there. So our three segments is we're going to be talking about the PS5. Is the digital version worth over the physical version? And then we're going to be talking about Michael Keaton's appearance in the DCEU and how he could emerge in Flashpoint. And then the final segment is going to be also about Michael Keaton, but how he will serve in the new Batman Beyond solo film. So, with all that in mind, let's get started with the PS5. So, in case y'all haven't noticed, the PS5 has two physical consoles. You have the one that is a physical console that accepts CDs, and then you got one that is the digital console, which is only digital downloads. And from what we heard, this is kind of like an interesting thing that they're at least putting this out there. It's kind of it points into a different direction because I think like all the previous PlayStations have had, the CD port. So not having this option is very interesting. So I'm just gonna start off with Matt. Which one would you prefer, Matt? Would you prefer a digital or the physical?
Physical, only because I've constantly collected games, and if I don't like a certain game I buy, I can at least get some money out of it via GameStop, trade-in store, person willing to buy it off me.
Yeah, resale value and that kind of game community.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
Same for the exact same reasons. If I buy a game and like start playing it and don't like it, I'd like to be able to return it and either get my whole money back or sell it for partial value. And then there's the fact that I already have games for the PS4, and they say that the PS5 is going to be cross compatible with PS4 games. So not having to rebuy, for Red Dead Redemption, for instance, or one of the other like disc games I already own is already a huge plus. So definitely the physical.
And from what I know, the physical can still do like digital downloads if you want.
Yeah.
So like it kind of like not losing out there. We don't know the prices of these two consoles, which is kind of like what people are kind of like hanging on to, from what I've heard. So I would expect the physical one to cost more than the digital one, but it's possible that it could be flipped. But if the digital console was less money, would you guys be more willing to buy it? What do you think, Matt?
No, I still rather pay the physical costs, only because even if it's cheaper, I have no way to get any true value out of it. Yeah, I could download maybe 5 to 10 games, but then I have to delete them and buy them again if I really like them, and it's a cycle of no good.
Yeah, so even if you say like $50, you're still paying more in the future for having to rebuy old games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like a lose-lose. What do you think, John?
Well, my speculation is it will be cheaper. I imagine by at least $100 or so.
Ooh.
I expect the one with the actual disc to probably be around the same as the PS4 was to start, and then the digital will just be like $100. So it'll be like the cheap version of the PS4 for people, kind of like how Apple has cheaper versions of their phone for those who don't need the high grade ones. So that's my speculation, and no, I'm still gonna get the one with the disc, even though the digital one most likely will be cheaper, because just that's a needed part of the console for me. I need to be able to switch out games, play games from the PS4 that I already own. There's just it's not worth the upgrade if I'm losing all that much. So
yeah. So, what are the advantages with getting the digital? What do you think, Matt?
Well,
Oh, sorry. John.
I'd say the only advantage in it is it lets people that don't want a physical library continue on, but even then you can still physical copy and use it as a Blu-ray player if you don't want to have physical copies of games.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the overall advantage would be less library to worry about,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, a streaming device, because it'd primarily be a streaming device after that point for what little apps you could probably get on it.
Yeah, and I feel like if you had the digital, I guess you don't have to worry about like CDs getting scratched and stuff like that. What are some benefits you think, John?
well, I think one of the things with digital is like Matt said, like not having to have like physical copies of things. It can be a plus, especially if you live in like a place of like limited physical space to store stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know I own like probably 150 movies plus digitally, and I wouldn't. There's no way I could have all that many movies if they were physical copies, just because I don't have that type of space. I love all the movies I own, but I couldn't keep them with the amount of space I have unless they were
Yeah.
digital. And the same principle applies to games. So I have far less
Or
as many
honestly.
games. I do have more digital games than I do physical ones just because of that space reason.
So,
So there's a huge. What were
kind
you
of
saying?
going into space, that's kind of been like another big topic with this because the PS5 is only going to have a certain amount of space, uh,
Yeah.
and so like let's say you get the terabyte for the digital, like Red Dead Redemption was like what was it like 200 to 300 gigs.
Yeah,
So
it was a
if
sizable game.
so like to get that's only like, and then you got like the 200 gigs or whatever for like the presets and all that crap. So like that's a
I mean,
lot
yeah.
of space that you take up for just one game, and if then you gotta buy an external drive to help beef up your thing, and then it. So like yeah, it does save you the physical space, but I feel like it's still more expensive, like just because of the space limitation. What do you guys think about that? Let's start with John on this one.
Well, I think that's why I prefer the physical version of the PlayStation because it allows you to like just like have a healthy mixture of both.
Mhm.
If that's what you need to do, is you can have a mixture of physical games for the ones you want and
Mhm.
digital games for the one you want. That way you can preserve both the digital space and terabytes or gigabytes and terabytes,
Mhm.
and physical space and just like the actual space you have to store games in your house or apartment or whatever. So I think that's the way you got to figure out what works best for you. Because even if you have if the same is true. The space is space, whether it's digital or
Mhm.
physical. You only have a limited amount of it, and you got to decide how to best fill it. So having those two spaces instead of just one digital is preferable.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, as a general consensus, I'll agree on that. Primarily, the big thing will be, will they have interchangeable internal drives? Because if not, then
Mhm.
that's a shot in the foot right there. However, if they get interchange drives, who say you can't download 10 games that take up almost a terabyte of solid state,
Mhm.
put it to this put it to the sideline, and then move it around? But spacing is going to be a weird thing that they're going to have to counter, kind of like how PS4 had to add in external hard drives as a fundamental part of their system once games got 100 gigabytes or more.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being an issue, and I just feel like it's kind of weird right now for them to offer that, especially when you can get the if the physical can do both, then why wouldn't you just go with the physical and spend the extra like $50 or $100? That's kind of like my thoughts on it. Are you guys glad though that they offer two options?
I mean, yeah, 'cause I can see how, like, especially for people who love gaming but aren't necessarily doing hot financially, especially due to the whole. Well, I don't know if this will get you demonetized, but the whole virus thing going on. with it can definitely be hard to have that more expensive type
Mm-hmm.
of system. So having one that's purely digital and cheaper and more affordable,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can see how for people who still want a game but don't want to spend the extra 100, 200, whatever bucks would find that appealing. So
Yeah. And kind of like with our last video, if you just want one game, you just want the new Spider-Man game, or you just want to
yeah,
play Squadrons or Ratchet and Clank, that could be an option for you to buy like a digital version with that pre-installed and stuff. What do you
yeah,
think, Matt?
Yeah, it's good, especially if it's a. I mean, I know a lot of families buy things like Minecraft Dungeons, real small,
Mm-hmm.
tiny games for their kids that their kids can play. So if they have an online base only, then they could have their Fortnites or Apexes. They could have all these variety games that are generally small,
Mm-hmm.
but still play out in its own right and be more cost effective since I doubt little Timmy's going to be playing God of War 5 or uh, Call of Duty 25,
GTA 6, or something
if that ever happens.
someday.
Maybe, maybe Elder Scrolls 6 as well.
I don't think we want to wait till 2030, Matt.
I mean, we're already getting 2077 this year.
True. Moving on. All right. So, on our next segment, we've got Michael Keaton's Batman is returning, and he is going
Rumored,
to
I
be
think.
in the DC EU. But first, a message from our sponsor. Hi, my name is Bucky Buck Johnson, and I'm here today to talk to you about solving all your problems. Has this ever happened to you? Your boyfriend or girlfriend takes your phone that you love or something and throws it at you and it destroys after you guys break up. Or your boss tears that report you've been working so hard to do. Or maybe your neighbor's just mowing their lawn at 4 in the morning. Well, I got a solution for you. BanjoMan. What is BanjoMan? Well, we solve all your problems with a banjo. It's a trademark thing. If you need something done, we'll destroy it with a banjo. See your ex threw the phone at the wall? Well, don't worry, call us, and we will destroy their phone with a banjo. If you need your boss just tore up your report, and you need to do something about it, call us, and we'll destroy their report with a banjo. And most importantly, if your neighbor's just mowing at their lawn at 4 in the morning, well, we can solve that problem by destroying their lawnmower with a banjo. So call us today and we will solve all your problems with a banjo. Just call 555-84-BANJO and you'll see all your problems go away. All your problems are just within the tip of your strings and you can solve them today by calling 555-84-BANJO. That's 555-84-BANJO. And if you call right now, you will get a guitar. We'll destroy them with a guitar for free. For only $50, all your problems can be solved. So call BanjoMan. My name's Bucky Buck Johnson, and we hope to see you on the other side of the streams. And we're back from that awesome sponsor. Thank you so much. And so we got the Michael Keaton Batman who is going to be appearing in the Flashpoint movie. And what an interesting turn of events that took. Just when we thought we knew everything about DC movies, they, I guess, decided to put a curveball in there. So in case y'all haven't heard, Michael Keaton's Batman is going to make at least a cameo appearance in the Flashpoint movie, and he is rumored to have a bigger role in the DCEU going on. He could potentially be, as most people are rumoring, a Nick Fury type of character, where he's kind of be like the old mentor for the Justice League people those guys. So, with him being the Nick Fury, that is all just rumors, but he is going to make an appearance in the Flashpoint. So, starting off with our first question, what are y'all's initial thoughts? Just right off the bat. Oops, hit my mic. Right off the bat, what do y'all think?
Could he be Thomas Wayne Batman instead of a Bruce Wayne Batman?
I mean, I'm excited.
I mean, because that's what happens in the original Flashpoint is Flash goes to an alternate timeline of Batman where Bruce dies instead of.
This is Michael Keaton's Batman from the original his movies. It's the same.
Batman. It's not Michael Keaton playing Bat.
It's the same Batman. The Michael Keaton Batman movies. It's the same one.
Gotcha. So for clarity on it, it's basically saying, quote unquote, multiverse could affect current verse. But in that own area, I'm excited. Keaton was a great Batman back in his heyday.
Yeah.
And he's still a very menacing fellow, so if he does play an older Bruce, which he has to at this point, or just a mean Thomas Wayne with a gun.
Yeah.
But if we're going to go with the fact that it is a Batman of some sort, whether it's the Tim Burton movies or a DCEU's Flashpoint, I'm actually quite excited. I mean, it's really up to them writing Keaton, though, because that's where it's going to really stem from whether or not they get the heart and soul of Burton's Batman or if they just hollow out his shell and call it something else.
I think one thing that a big rumor with the Flashpoint movie is that it is going to kind of be like a reboot for the DCEU. From what there's no official thing, but my initial thoughts and kind of like speculation for Flashpoint is that this is how they're gonna justify getting rid of Ben Affleck, and how they're gonna justify maybe Henry Cavill not coming back if he doesn't. I think he's in talks, but like nothing's official yet with that. So with all that, like this is maybe how they could introduce Robert Pattinson into the DCEU for future. So what is this? Is Flashpoint how you would like this to happen? Let's start with Matt.
Yeah, I would think it's the best way considering the universe is already kind of set in stone for what they've got in the first place. You've got basically the first setup of any of the franchise is basically Snyder, except for Patty Jenkins making her debut as a World War I movie with Wonder Woman. But we don't have any. We have a Snyderverse that got extended with different directors, not a Justice League that has a multicolored, faceted director crew. It would have been fine if he just started off with one movie, built into another movie of his own, but let other directors. But this Flashpoint will help clean up the timeline a little bit, where it's not as jagged, and also hopefully fixes any blemishes that they want to get rid of, like Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there's going to be an in-universe way of doing it, then I think Flashpoint's probably one of the best narrative stories in order to try, because I mean, besides a straight reboot outside universes, like we're slashing it, starting from scratch, which they've already done several times. It just if they're going to do an in-universe storyline, Flashpoint it literally is about a multiverse creating a whole new timeline. So that's probably one of the best comics they can do to try and fix the universe and start anew in a more coherent and clear direction. So,
yeah, and I think one reason why this would be a smart idea for them is that it lets them keep some of the actors, because like it's hard to do a reboot and then keep like the same actors and not some, because it makes it confusing. But this would be a good way for like keeping Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I think that this is a good way of doing that. So back to Michael Keaton real quick though. Why Michael Keaton? Like, is it like he's getting popular lately in these extended universes? He's got the Vulture and the Spider-Verse and all that stuff, and then now he's appearing up here again. Like, do you guys find that interesting that he's just kind of popping up again?
Yeah, he's
Kind of.
definitely rising in popularity, but there's also the
Mhm.
fact that what other Batman would you pick? George Clooney's nipple Batman? Would you want him to return to the
Mhm.
big screen? So I mean,
I
I
liked George Clooney's Batman. All right, so back off.
I mean, I suppose Christian Bale would be a viable one too,
He's
but
too young.
fair enough.
But he's also not physically as adept as Affleck. We saw Affleck's Batman just straight up punch a dude through the concrete. The most we saw Bell do was punch a guy so hard that he fell down.
True, that is true. But I think it's just really interesting having Keaton kind of come back. Like it's actually I feel like it's kind of like Palpatine, but like I'm actually excited for it. Like it's a fan service, but it could be done really well. You know what I mean? Like it has a chance to actually be really interesting if done right. Uh, Plus, I'm a big multiverse fan, so I think anyone who does that is pretty cool. Um, yeah. So it sounds like you guys are excited for it, though.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
With Robert Pattinson taking over the mantle as Batman and all that, how if he comes into the DCU that we know, how does and do you think that Robert Pattinson would just kind of take Ben Affleck's place, or do you think that Robert Pattinson's Batman will be his own thing, and Michael Keaton will kind of be the new Batman in the DCEU?
So I feel like Robert Pattinson's gonna be a year two, year three Batman,
Mm-hmm.
someone who is slowly easing into the role and quite not what Batman was in the Batman vs Superman,
Mm-hmm.
where he was older, meaner, grungier, just un. This might be where he starts off with his ideologies and possibly sets up a Robin, probably Dick Grayson, since we know that it's canon that Dick Grayson's the dead Robin that Joker had killed and mocked.
Which Flashpoint
But
could undo.
hopefully, but I feel like Pattinson's Batman is a lead into what Affleck's Batman was, not a replacement. Since it'd be weird to have a young Batman, an older Batman, turn to a young Batman
Mm-hmm.
when it's canon that the old Batman is the one we saw and is part of the Justice League.
Yeah. What you
Yeah,
think?
I'm kind of the same mindset. I think Michael Keaton is a better suited actor and Batman for this for to like lead the Justice League or play a leadership role than
Mm-hmm.
a young Robert Pattinson Batman, especially considering like it's pretty much. I don't know whether it's confirmed that he's like a year one, year two Batman, but it's very much like he's a detective Batman. Like he's not the rough Batman that we know in later years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Michael Keaton is definitely going to be better suited for that, especially since we haven't seen this character in so long. And considering the actor's older, we know the character's going to be older too. So I mean, I just think he's probably the best suited. So
Do you think that maybe if this does like reboot kind of the thing, that the Robert Pattinson's movies will kind of just be like a prequel or like a prequel to the current storyline of how he got his start off into like Batman vs BVS?
potentially,
I'd say it'd be more likely if they're gonna keep on with Snyder's version of Batman. If not, this might be a pathway to a newer Batman to
Mm-hmm.
possibly, maybe for the fans, maybe for the company, just to go into a new direction. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you can go so many directions with this. Would you guys like Robert Pattinson's Batman to be in the DCEU, or would you rather it be kind of like the Dark Knight trilogy and just be its own little thing?
I mean, no. I mean, I think at this point it would cause too much confusion, especially for like a general audience, if there were two like different two Batman separated by two different movie universes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's different from like a multiverse in the same like movie universe and two
Mm-hmm.
different movie universes. I think that would cause way too much confusion.
Well,
So I
not start its own universe. I don't mean that. I mean just trilogy. That's it, kind of thing. Because DC, Warner Bros. Has said that they're not gonna worry too much about an extended universe right now. They're just worried about getting solo films out.
hmm.
That was a couple of months ago though. So maybe they've changed. Maybe they lied. I don't know. I don't trust Warner Brothers,
So
but
like doing like an Iron Man 1, 2, 3 type thing with Patterson.
yeah,
Like
kind
kind
of
of
just like his own little trilogy,
yeah,
his own little
I'd be
shebang.
down for that. I mean, it's I mean, assuming the first one, I mean, assuming like we end up liking what Robert Pattinson does and what
Hmm.
the screenwriters write and the director directs, with like assuming it's like a good film, that that's received well, then yeah, I think that'd be a good route to go for them is to actually build up this Batman and to make him a character
Hmm.
we like and care about and see grow as a character before they, try another Justice League movie. So
What do you think, Matt?
I think it's hard to say because with Pattinson Batman, it almost feels like they're trying to go with a relatively known person like they did with Ben Affleck, but they're trying to I figure a whole new direction style.
Hmm.
So on the one hand, it could be its own trilogy, and it would be very much beneficial to it. But in a perspective of it, I feel like they could say in many things, like a trailer, that it's a prequel to what offsets Bruce to go into a mad shooting phase. So we could see it possibly lead into a point where Bruce basically sees his adoptive son killed in front of him by the Joker. Either
Hmm.
A, he beats Joker way further than he should have ever done and goes to the dark side, and then says, you know what, I'm already at this point, might as well start shooting.
Yeah.
Or just be a good leaflet into seeing how an origin story would work without seeing his parents die for the 17th time.
Yeah. So, Matt, would you rather his own universe? Would you rather just a trilogy or part of the extended?
Its own trilogy. It'd make more valuable sense, and it also help establish him in his own right. Then,
Hmm.
if they multiverse him into it, he's established and not just forked in.
Yeah. I'm kind of more on that phase. I feel like I like multiverses when done right, but it can hurt individual movies. I feel like Iron Man 2 is a great example of a multiverse hurting a trilogy because Iron Man 2 is has a lot going on, and most of that is because Iron Man 2 sets up Thor. It sets up it helps sets up the Avengers. It sets up like so much stuff for this multiverse, and it can get it crowded the movie a lot. So I think having his own trilogy would just really flesh out his character, and possibly give us something better than than maybe even the Dark Knight trilogy, which I think could happen. As long as Warner Brother plans out a 3 movie storyline, unlike some people I know. All right, we made it this close without mentioning Star Wars. This close. All right. So for our final segment, we we are going to be talking about Michael Keaton's Batman Beyond, which John predicted earlier in this video. So it's quite funny that we got to this point. So this one is actually really intriguing to me because I've been telling Matt this a lot, but I've been getting kind of tired of the normal superhero kind of formula. I'm kind of tired of the MCU's like repetitive formula, and DC's and DC has been turning around, but I feel like at this point it's a little late. Like I'll still watch them, but I'm kind of ready for something new. And this is really interesting because Batman Beyond's villains are really weird and really cool, and I really am excited to see like an adaptation. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick description. All right. So basically, all we know, is that Michael Keaton could be returning for a. He's got the Flashpoint role. This could set up an old Batman figure for Terry McGinnis, the new Batman, to take a place, and for him to kind of like go and take the mantle. If you haven't seen the Batman Beyond animated show, go watch it. It
You
is
should.
amazing. It's a very
10 out
good
of 10.
show. Yeah. And it's so entertaining. And so I would just love to see how they could do this with it. And Michael Keaton as old Batman, I don't know why, like as old Batman, that like fits my dream. Like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. So I'm gonna ask a question so I can stop branching. Would you guys like this?
Yes.
100%.
Okay.
I want to hear Michael Keaton say, "Release the hounds."
I just want to see Michael Keaton beat someone with a cane. All right. Like Batman, like Bruce does in the beginning of the show when he just beats up all the gangster jokers. You know what I would also love is if Jared Leto's Joker was one of like the gangster jokers in the show. That would be funny. So do you want a solo Batman Beyond movie, regardless of Michael Keaton?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
the animated series was so great. Why would you not want a live action movie? Assuming you get quality. I mean, it all depends on the writing for me. But if they make a good, if they have good writing, a good director who like actually likes the animated series and understands who
Mhm.
Terry McGinnis is, then yeah, I mean, having a live action version of that would be an immensely fun watch.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm all in for it. Whether it's solo film, whether it's a lead into something new for a future series, I just want Batman Beyond. It's a weird world that's really fun, and hell, you could even have a strong variety of other DC characters m- talked about. You could talk about Metropolis in the
Mhm.
background, like
Sta-
Metropolis News.
Static
You
could
could
make an
go,
appearance too.
yeah, have, you could talk about the Justice League future,
Mhm.
but not show them, just talk about them and give enough world building that exists, and to still focus on Terry as a badass turned even more badass Batman.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually think Michael Keaton's old Bruce would be just a bonus to this. Uh, Regardless if he is, I would just want this to be to ring true. Uh, would you guys rather a TV show or would you rather a movie, live action? Let's start with Matt.
I think for the namesake, a movie. 2.5 hours long, get it established of what's going on. And if they have decided to make another movie or TV series with the big names,
Hmm.
that'd be where they go on to episodic for an hour episodes. But a movie would be better to ease it into a bigger setup while not doing an extravagant plan, but
Hmm.
still having fun with its world and foundation.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Matt on the movie idea. Perhaps there needs to be some like little bit of setup in a previous movie in the
Hmm.
universe first, just because we know who Terry McGinnis is because we saw the animated series, but the general audiences aren't going to know who he
Yeah.
is, so that's going to be a hard sell. So like have him introduced in the main universe after Michael Keaton's Batman is introduced, and then once Terry McGinnis is introduced, um, have him have his own solo film. So I think that's the best route to go.
Yeah. I don't. So I think. I really like the idea. I'm more of a TV show guy just because I really enjoy like getting more content. That can always be a good thing or a bad thing, but I I feel like that it would benefit from a movie. You would be able to focus a more concise storyline and really dig down that rabbit hole. I feel like a little better. Uh, One thing I would like to see kind of emerge from this is not. I don't want a universe. I don't want a crazy, over the head universe, but I would like a Batman Beyond solo film, and then like a static solo film. You know, I would like to see like these individual future Justice League characters kind of get their own spotlight, whether it's in like a TV show that mentions Terry McGinnis or something like that. But I just really like a lot of these future Justice League characters, and I think they have a lot of potential, like Static, Terry McGinnis's Batman, and all that. Is that something you guys would like? Kind of like other future Justice League character solo films?
It'd be interesting, especially taking in lesser known characters and making them a little more prominent onto the big screen. Static being the
Mm-hmm.
first one, especially more or less in what we're facing right now, Static would be a very fresh face on the market since his life isn't easy. Where he lives in a very bad spot, but yet he makes the best out of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be a really fun movie, just in general. But I could also have a message without being preachy. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so many other characters that deserve a spotlight. We've seen Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman done a million times. They're in
Yeah.
everything. So I would like to see something weird a little bit. Heck, even Animal Man, as weird as he is,
Yeah.
he could get like a series or a quick movie to just kind of play with. Make it like a Predator style movie where hunter hunting the hunted.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fun little concept to play with for anybody that would want a future characters that don't get any love.
Mm-hmm. And I think one way we're kind of seeing this era of like unknown superheroes kind of gain their like time to shine. Like Stargirl has a TV show now. DC's of Tomorrow's is like some of the weird characters. Doom Patrol, and then like I think a great example of taking weird characters is surprisingly Sony with their Venomverse. Venom got his own spin-off show, and then we got Morbius. Who would have guessed like 10 years ago that Morbius would get his own show? And then a
I
Craven
forgot
solo
that was coming
film.
out. Yeah.
Huh?
I forgot Morbius was coming out. I've seen the trailer, but I haven't seen anything else for it in a while. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that trailer looked awesome.
And like so we have Craven and like all these Spider-Verse movies and so I feel like DC could do that with like future Justice League, kind of give them their own
Yeah,
little
definitely.
spin-offs, and it'd be really cool.
And I was thinking, like, that's kind of what Marvel has done a lot. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy was not a high value IP
Mm-hmm.
comic before the movies, and now they're widely popular. And even Iron Man, the character to start off the MCU, while he was definitely Guardians, he definitely wasn't like a Captain America or a
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man type level character. He wasn't one of the main well-known Marvel characters. He started off one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. So
Yeah.
like Marvel has succeeded heavily by taking relatively unknown characters of theirs and making them mass hits. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that's a smart strategy for DC to play because I think people are a little bit tired of the Batman origin story and seeing Batman's parents get killed. And even, Uncle Ben's death was going to be very tiresome. That's why Marvel skipped it entirely in their version of the
Mm-hmm.
MC and their version of Spider-Man. So, like, definitely
Yeah.
getting new characters with that we haven't seen that much before and that are rather obscure, I think could definitely benefit the DCU greatly. So,
So that's my next question. Is this a part of the DCEU just way in the future, or is this its own spin-off?
I'd rather its own spinoff. Try to connect it to a DCEU would be hard, especially if they change and ruffle any kind of things on it. But if you were to give it its own timeline where Justice existed, things happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then Bruce decided to say, I'm a hermit, I'm going to go hide my billions of dollars until some punk kid tries to steal a bat suit. I mean, that'd be a much better idea than trying to connect it to everything in the DCEU.
It's just too complicated.
And also a simpler timeline they can play with, making their own consequence instead of falling into a trap.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, John?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the best route to go. I mean, don't overcomplicate it. Just start to build, make these solo movies, and then if you want to create something bigger, go from there. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think, I think that just doing their own little universe is like the best way right now to just like have this be at its best. And would you rather the Batman Beyond Michael Keaton story over Michael Keaton kind of just being in the DCEU? Would you rather Batman Beyond kind of thing? Would you rather Michael Keaton and Batman Beyond or in the DCEU?
Batman Beyond, it would be more fun. It would be a little more playful. It wouldn't have to feel like a retcon of a pre-existing actor. It would be its own a tribute to the fact that Keaton's an older man playing a character he yet played again in his youth.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be a little more fun for him to play with the same idea of his old character, just in its own, I guess, flair, since he could play with it as much as he wants.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, it's. Yeah, I definitely think that having that would be the better storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I mean, you definitely. I think it'd be a mess if you did both at the same time. So it's either do the.
Choose one, right?
Yeah, you got to choose one, or do the having be the leader of the Justice League type first, and then bring a Terry McGinnis type or Batman Beyond type story line like on later in the overall extended universe.
Mm-hmm.
That could maybe work, but if doing both, I think would be too much of a. It would make it too complicated. So.
Well, one reason why I think it would be really fun for a Batman Beyond show is that we have so many villains that we have never seen before. Like we've seen Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul, Joker, which I love Joker, but so many times we've seen these characters, and like Batman Beyond has some really unique villains. Like it's got Blight. Ink is one of my favorite. It has the Joker when he comes back again. Shriek. You got all these characters who are really interesting and would be fun to see on screen. Matt, do you have a favorite Batman Beyond villain?
It's the glowing radioactive dude. It's like Proton or I can't remember his name, but he was really fun to me.
Mm-hmm. What about you, John?
It's like PRO.
Oh, sorry. PR. Here, we'll look it up while John tells us ours.
Okay.
Oh, it's been actually been a while since I've seen an animated series, so I don't remember all of them. The main ones I remember were and I forget her name, but the character who turned into ink or whatever.
Yeah, her name's Ink.
Okay, that's pretty simple. Then Ink. And then I don't remember his villain name, but the guy who ended up killing Terry McGinnis's sorry, spoiler, Terry McGinnis's father.
That's Blight.
Blight. Okay. So considering those are the only two I remember, I'd say they went out. I think Blight's probably the more interesting because it has you killed my father aspect to it. So.
Mm-hmm. That's who it is. Blight's the radioactive looking dude.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. One thing I think can be interesting. This is my last question before we end this one. Uh, so Robert Pattinson's will be like a year one, like is rumored kind of thing, for his trilogy, right? And then Batman Beyond's thing. So they don't. I don't think they should. I personally would like them to be like their own things, like not kind of a part of. But I think it could be. You could kind of play off of them. So I'm gonna pitch an idea to you guys, and you're gonna let me know if I'm just crazy and should go to bed for the night. All right. So year one introduces a lot of the first villains that Batman has to face. Like Penguin and then Mister Freeze and all those characters. So, and I'm kind of specifically mentioning Mister Freeze because Mister Freeze is also a Terry McGinnis villain. So, could you use the Bruce Wayne Batman Year One storyline to introduce a bunch of his villains in his trilogy, and then have a Batman Beyond movie where maybe Mister Freeze is the villain in that movie? And because like one of the big things in the TV show is that Mister Freeze comes back and that he survived from fighting Bruce Wayne Batman, right? So would that be too complicated bringing like two villains like that? They wouldn't be in the same universe, they'd be their own things. But is that one way you could achieve maybe like the same emotional impact of having Mister Freeze be like a villain in Batman Beyond? I don't know. I may be going a little far fetched here. Let me know what you guys think.
I feel like conceptually it wouldn't hurt, but the Batman Beyond rogues list is so diverse that bringing a resurrection character wouldn't. I guess it wouldn't be as interesting unless you were to describe it. I don't know what happened and who he was, because you have to tell this is Mr. Freeze, and here's Mr. Freeze after fighting Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
But
it can get pretty complicated.
Yeah, so I feel like it could work, but it'd be a lot of expositional area to play with on Bruce's part if they were to do that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really liked the Mr. Freeze episode in the Batman Beyond, so I was kind of curious if there was some way to get him out there. But, obviously, probably,
Well, I think it. I mean, I think it actually has potential, especially especially if they copy or go off the same kind of premises as the Batman Beyond series did, because Mister Freeze became somewhat of a tragic character in the Batman Beyond series, both in the fact that how he was still alive, like, he basically didn't want to be alive anymore. I mean, my memory of it's kind of a bit shaky, but I remember actually feeling bad for Mister Freeze just because of his life circumstances, the fact that he kept alive, that he felt all this tragedy, and he was actually an empathetic character for once, not just as the like cold-hearted villain. So I think if you go off that premise, have him be a dark character when he's fighting the Robert Pattinson Batman, and see the downfall of him throughout the years, and then see Terry McGinnis fight him and have that same kind of tragedy element to it. I think that could be potentially powerful. So
yeah. I just wasn't sure if the audience really, because it's been a while since we had a live action adaptation of Mr. Freeze. So, wait,
the
wait,
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
wait.
the puns.
Was the Michael Keaton's Batman the one with Mr. Freeze?
No,
I don't think it was Michael Keaton anymore, but it was the same universe.
It was Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer's.
Or George Clooney. Yeah. It's one of those two.
I think it was George Clooney. That sounds familiar.
He was with Poison Ivy.
Oh, okay. It would be pretty ironic if it was Michael Keaton, though. But yeah, I am most excited about the Batman Beyond. I think that would just be so creative and a fresh, I can't talk today. It would be good. It would be good.
Fresh air.
Thank you, John. All right,
Febreze.
Febreze. All right, it would be a breath of Febreze. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode for Gibberish Discussions podcast. I appreciate you all listening and joining in. If you're listening to the iTunes podcast, thank you even more because we need all the people we can get and we love you. So, thank you so much for showing up today. John, have anything you want to plug in today?
Not today, no.
What about you, Matt? Got anywhere people want to find you?
Add the usual Bakaneko07 on Instagram and DeviantArt.
Nice, go check it out. And for our next episode will be next Monday at 12 p.m. And if you want it sooner, check it this Friday. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye!
Bye.